The top stories tonight on Y News. The government's pandemic task force has repealed the policy requiring students in higher education institutions to have medical insurance before participating in in-person classes.
Vice President-elect Sara Duterte is looking to bring her Entrepreneurship program in Davao City to the office of the Vice President during her term.
Proposed pension increase for indigent senior hurdles Senate second reading.
And know how the government is preparing to handle monkeypox virus cases if it enters the country.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, May 27, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Harleen Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts. I am William Theo.
First in the news. College students who will attend in-person classes no longer need to present a medical insurance. Meanwhile, Metro Manila will remain under COVID-19 Alert Level 1 from June 1 to 15. Rosa Liconz explains why.
College students no longer need to acquire medical insurance to attend face-to-face classes. This was after the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, repealed the policy. The Commission on Higher Education recommended this to IATF.
Ang pag-repeal sa medical insurance ng mga estudyante na nakasaad sa CHED-DOH Joint Memorandum Circular number 2021-004.
The higher education institutions, or HEIs, were previously mandated to ensure that students attending the face-to-face classes are registered with the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or have an equivalent medical insurance to cover COVID-19 medical expenses. Meanwhile, Metro Manila will remain under COVID-19 Alert Level 1 from June 1 until 15, 2022. This is based on Resolution 168A of the IATF. Apart from the National Capital Region, Alert Level 1 will also be implemented over Abra, Ilocos Norte, Batanes, Aurora, Batangas, Marinduque, Albay, Aklan, Siquijor, Biliran, Bukidnon, Davao City, Surigao del Sur, among others. Under Alert Level 1, all establishments, persons, or activities can operate, work, and be done at full on-site capacity, while other areas of the country will be under Alert Level 2. Rosa Liconz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Fully vaccinated passengers will no longer require a pre-departure COVID-19 test starting May 30, 2022. This is part of the government's measures to revive the pandemic-hit economy. The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, approved Resolution 168 exempting all fully vaccinated and boosted foreign nationals from the RT-PCR test requirement. Based on the resolution, the visitor must be at least 18 years of age and must have received the primary series of COVID-19 vaccines and at least one booster shot. Also exempted from the pre-departure RT-PCR requirement are foreign nationals aged 12 to 17 who have received their primary COVID-19 vaccines and those aged below 12 and traveling with fully vaccinated or boosted parents or guardians. Based on recent data, a total of 517,516 foreign tourist arrivals have been recorded in the Philippines from 10th of February to the 25th of May 2022. Tourism Secretary Bernard Romulo Puyat said the department is looking forward to an uptick in tourist arrivals in the coming weeks following the further easing of entry requirements into the country.
Outgoing Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Benjamin Diokno will look into proposals to implement additional taxes, but first he will focus on addressing the country's record high debt. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
Outgoing Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Benjamin Diokno said His priority when he takes on the new role as Finance Secretary is ensuring the government meets its debt obligations. According to the incoming Finance Secretary, the country can easily outgrow its debt, stressing the need to focus on sustaining economic growth.
Maybe the first item in the agenda will be the sustainability of our public debt. My position at the moment is that our debt to GDP ratio is slightly above the 60% limit. I don't think that is really cause for concern, because as long as we continue to grow at around 6 to 7% on a sustainable basis, we can easily outgrow our debt.
Diokno added he will look into proposals of the Department of Finance for additional revenue-generating measures such as imposing additional taxes. The outgoing BSP chief was referring to the fiscal consolidation plan proposed by the DOF, noting that the incoming administration will have to raise 249 billion pesos annual revenues in the next 10 years to pay the 3.2 trillion peso additional debt incurred due to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Diokno, the country needs to get back on its economic growth trajectory and be able to sustain it to allow higher tax collection.
It's too early to talk about raising taxes at this point. I think it's important, it's important to raise the growth momentum of the economy, because a strong economy means strong resources, tax resources, or government resources.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Vice President-elect Sara Duterte is looking to bring her Entrepreneur's HIP program in Davao City to the office of the Vice President during her term. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
Aside from education, Vice President-elect Sara Duterte Carpio plans to bring to the office of the Vice President the Entrepreneurship program Magnegosyo Taday that she started in Davao City. The said program aims to alleviate poverty by providing opportunity for women to create their own business. According to Duterte Carpio, one of her priorities once she assumes the office on June 30 is to focus on the economic well-being and education of Filipinos. Sara said her team would coordinate with the office of the Vice President Leni Robredo for the transition. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The start of the 19th Congress is only a few months away, but new programs will be launched which will benefit various sectors in the country. Which sectors in our society have more representatives in the next 3 years? Dante Almento has the story.
The Comelec and Bank proclaimed 55 winning party list groups yesterday to represent different sectors in the country.
It is my hope that the voices of the voters ring clearer in the officials and representatives they voted, from the President down to the members of local councils. I pray for discernment and guidance for all of our elected leaders.
The agricultural sector will have more representatives in the next Congress. These include the AAMBIS-OWA, which is an association of farmers in Visayas. Abono party list advocates changes in the agricultural sector to attain enough food supply in the country. AGAP, or Agricultural Sector Alliance of the Philippines, will push for the welfare of farmers and increase the agricultural budget from government. Meanwhile, for the health sector, Anak Kalusugan and Kabayan are both advocating the efficient implementation of the Universal Healthcare Law. Tingog Sinirangan party list wants to establish some healthcare facilities and fair PhilHealth benefits.
Sa pangunguna ng Tingog, mayroon tayong ipagpapatuloy natin ang ating livelihood program, medical assistance at syempre ang ating education programs.
ACT teachers, Manila teachers, and USWAG party lists will work for the benefits of those in the education sector.
Yung pagtataas ng sweldo ng mga kaguruan at saka ng mga kawani. So yun pa yung mga naiwan. Tapos yung pagpapalakas ng mga unyon ng mga guro, yung sa Executive Order 180 ay aamyendahan natin.
The Construction Workers Solidarity or CWS party list will promote advanced knowledge for construction workers and uplift their status in society. Abang Lingkod, Pusong Pinoy, and Agimat party lists assure to uphold the creation of more jobs.
Well, of course, nandito po tayo para lahat naman ng mga party list dito ay nandito po para tumulong sa ating mga kababayan. And lagi naman po natin sinasabi sa ating kampanya is kailangan po natin talaga maibalik ang lahat ng mga trabaho na nawala. And alam naman natin yung usapin po minimum wage, yan po isa sa mga ipaglalaban ng Agimat party list dito po sa mababang kapulungan ng Kongreso.
Other groups such as electric cooperative, riders, transport sector, persons with disabilities, barangay health workers, seamen, athletes, OFW, senior citizens, youth, housing sector, among others, got also their representatives in the next Congress.
Matagal ng panahon, nakikita po natin na ang mga motorista ay nabibiktima ng pang-abuso at mga maling pagpapatupad ng batas. Kaya po pangunahing isusulong namin ng One Rider Party List ang mga batas na magpoprotekta sa mga motorista.
A party list representative has similar powers and benefits with a district representative. The 19th Congress would be composed of 316 representatives with 63 or 20% party list representatives and 253 or 80% district representatives. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Health has been preparing for the possible entry of re-emerging infectious disease monkeypox recorded in about 20 countries worldwide. The DOH said the Philippines is prepared. Aiko Miguel reports why.
The Health Department Field Implementation and Coordination Team and the One Hospital Command Center are working on the specific designation of isolation facilities. The DOH has put in place the 4-door strategy. Door 1 is the point of origin. This is to implement strict border controls. Door 2 includes screening, testing, and quarantine at points of entry to the Philippines. While Door 3 as point of care is mounting a community response using prevent, detect, treat, and reintegrate or PDITR approach, plus safe and effective vaccination. And Door 4 is preparing the healthcare system and keeping it from being overwhelmed. With the 4-door strategy in place, Department of Health Undersecretary Mirna Kabutay said the country's healthcare system is prepared for possible entry of monkeypox in the Philippines.
Ini-intensify natin yung screening sa ating mga borders and ensuring that surveillance systems are actively monitoring the situation. We are looking also at the probable symptomatic treatment kung meron, and we are looking sa prevention for possible vaccination.
As part of the Door 1 strategy, the DOH said the country has a strict border control.
We were informed by the Bureau of Quarantine na anong tawag dyan, wala namang direct flight from the mga affected areas. So at the point of layover na i-screen na. Nevertheless, we will have to look at fever surveillance and other questions for those who may have been coming or who had passed through these areas.
In a statement, the DOH also said during the activation of Doors 1 and 2 of DOH's 4-door alert system, the RITM is hereby designated as the main isolation facility for suspect, probable, and confirmed monkeypox cases. Also, regional isolation facilities or hospitals catering to other international points of entry shall be designated by the DOH Field Implementation and Coordination Team and One Hospital Command Center. All government hospitals shall also prepare an area for isolation and treatment facilities in the event that Doors 3 and 4 are activated. In a new statement issued just this afternoon, the DOH Disease Prevention and Control Bureau said they are coordinating and discussing with the RITM and Philippine Genome Center on the laboratory requirements needed for monitoring and surveillance of monkeypox through RT-PCR. On the matter of procurement of any specific brands of RT-PCR tests for monkeypox, the DOH said they will rely on scientific evidence to guide its decisions for procurement. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Indigent senior citizens may expect higher social pensions soon as the Senate passed on second reading a bill seeking to double their monthly stipend. This report will tell us why. With 21 affirmative votes, the Senate hurdles on second reading a proposed measure that will increase the monthly social pension of indigent senior citizens. Under Senate Bill 2506, the monthly stipend will be doubled from the current 500 pesos to 1,000 pesos. Option shall be also made available to beneficiaries to ensure a practical and fast distribution, such as electronic transfer or other modes of delivery. Any transaction or service fee shall not be charged to the beneficiary. The bill also mandates the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, with the approval of the Department of Budget and Management and in consultation with other stakeholders, to review and adjust the amount of the social pension every 2 years when necessary. The distribution and implementation of the social pension will also be transferred from the DSWD to the National Commission of Senior Citizens. Based on the eligibility criteria of the DSWD, those who are considered indigent senior citizens include frail, sickly, or with disability, no pension from the government and private institutions like GSIS, SSS, Philippine Veterans Affairs Office or PVAO, or any other insurance company, no permanent source of income, and no regular support from family or relatives for his or her basic needs. DSWD's data shows there are 3.8 million indigent Filipinos in the country aged 60 and above. Senator Joel Villanueva, who sponsored the measure, thanked his colleagues for supporting the bill. Its counterpart measure at the House of Representatives was passed in June 2021. Senator Risa Hontiveros also lauded the development and made a commitment to file a measure in the 19th Congress seeking to widen the coverage of the social pension of senior citizens by making it universal. Jorlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, students in Bicol will see each other for the first time for their end of the school year rites and moving up ceremonies. However, the number of hours and participants will still be limited. Alan Manansala will tell us why.
The DepEd Central Office's memorandum circular says the department has allowed almost 2,000 public and private schools in Bicol to hold face-to-face recognition or closing ceremonies. This happened after the region recorded a lower number of COVID-19 cases. According to Mayflor Jumamil, the Public Information Officer of DepEd Bicol, they still have to follow the minimum public health standards to avoid students being infected by COVID-19.
Doon sa guidelines, ililimit ang participants. So ang attend lang doon ang learner na gagraduate at isang parent. At lilimitahan din ang oras ng program during the conduct of this end of school year rites.
But there are still schools in Bicol that can't participate in the said ceremony because they can't follow the guidelines being set. According to DepEd, there are still schools in the process of implementing face-to-face classes.
They are on process sa pagpapa-approve at ang ilan naman ay nagpe-prepare pa lang. Maring nasa stage pa lang sila ng pag-prepare for the school safety assessment test or tool na ginagawa ng DepEd. Ang iba naman ay maring nagsisecure pa lang ng pagpapayag ng local government units or coordination with the communities and parents ng mga learners.
The closing ceremonies and in-person recognition will take place from June 27 to July 2. Even the DepEd Bicol allowing face-to-face learning modality, they have not detected students infected with COVID-19, according to their assessment. Even with the DepEd Bicol allowing face-to-face learning modality, they have not detected students infected with COVID-19, according to their assessment. The Department of Health Center for Health Development Bicol only recorded 23 new COVID-19 cases in the region in the previous week, from May 15 to May 21, 2022. Alan Manansala, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Philippine National Police commanders are reminded to keep the drug war aggressive even when President Rodrigo Duterte steps down. Leia Ilagan reports why.
The Philippine National Police developed a new strategy to prevent illegal drug syndicates from having the opportunity to continue their illegal operations. PNP Directorate for Operations Director Police Major General Val de Leon said the new policy focuses on rehabilitation and reintegration of drug dependents. De Leon said some groups and individuals have expressed concern in recent days about the future of the war on drugs as the end of President Dutertes' administration approaches.
Ang incoming president will surely appreciated what President Duterte has started. And I'm very certain, dahil alam din ng Pangulong Marcos ang ill effects nito, he will sustain yung gains natin dito. He will even strengthen it at lalo pa tayong suportahan sa kampanya laban sa droga.
De Leon reminded commanders down to the chief of police to continue the aggressive campaign against illegal drugs. The aggressive operations and law enforcement should be backed by an equal aggressive information drive and education campaign aimed at students who are often targets of the syndicates.
Walang humpay at lalo pa natin paigtingin. No? We just have conceptualized a new strategy on this. No, hindi natin hihintuan ng operations laban sa illegal na droga.
Since 2016, the crime rate across the country has significantly decreased because of the aggressive campaign against illegal drugs. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, North Korea is expected to face more sanctions as the United Nations voted on Thursday for the United States to lead the move. Marvi Delfin will give us the details live. Yes, Marvi?
Kath, the United Nations decision was brought forward after North Korea recently proceeded to renew their ballistic missile program, which was prohibited by the United Nations. The drafted sanctions aims to restrict North Korea's ballistic missile programs, ban imports of crude oil and tobacco, as well as blacklist the hacking group Lazarus, claimed to be linked to North Korea. The sanctions needed 9 votes and no vetoes from the Security Council's 5 members. But 2 members, China and Russia, have vetoed, claiming they are ineffective, according to Russia's UN Ambassador Vasily Nebzia. The vote comes after North Korea launched 3 missiles on Wednesday, despite being banned by the Security Council this year. One of the missiles was assumed to be their largest intercontinental ballistic missile directed at their east coast. The United States Ambassador for the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, however, called the vote as a disappointing day, as the Council restraint and silence only encouraged North Korea. Kath?
Thank you, Marvi Delfin, for that live report. Russia says the food crisis will continue to grow due to sanctions imposed on them by the West. Jane Robles will explain why live. Jane?
Kath, Moscow has pressed the West to release its sanctions against Russia, proceeding to shift the blame on them for the growing food crisis. With Russia being a significant grain exporter aside from Ukraine, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that the West must cancel what he termed as illegal decisions, which prevent the chartering of ships and grain export. The Kremlin also said in a statement after Russian President Vladimir Putin's recent phone call with Italy's Prime Minister Mario Draghi, that Moscow is ready to make a significant contribution to overcoming the food crisis if the West lifts sanctions. Meanwhile, British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss commented on Russia's actions, saying that Putin is weaponizing hunger before allowing Ukrainians' grain shipments to resume by demanding the lifting of sanctions. European countries have attempted to alleviate the crisis by transporting grain out of Ukraine by rail, but trains can only transport a small portion of what Ukraine produces, and ships are required for the majority of exports. Ukraine is one of the world's largest exporters of wheat, corn, and sunflower oil, but the war and Russian blockade of its port have halted much of that flow, putting global food supplies at risk. Kath?
And Jane, what has the West have to say about Russia's allegation on the food crisis?
Well, Kath, Western officials have dismissed the blames being shifted by Russia to the West. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken did note last week that food, fertilizers, and seeds were not included in the sanctions. At the latest, reports say the Washington is working to ensure the flow of goods is not disrupted. Kath?
Thank you, Jane Robles, reporting live. New research suggests the Delta surge in the USA in 2021 may have been partially due to overestimating population immunity. Charis Longbowen tells us why, live. Yes, Charis?
Good evening, Kath. New research on the Delta variant surge in the US suggests that it was due to an overlap between infection and vaccination rates. Previous studies suggest that there was an immunity percentage of 80 to 85% in southern New England by the time the Delta variant began to spread in July 2021. But the new research published in JAMA Network yesterday revealed that the percentage of those immune was actually closer to 67%. The inaccuracy of the percentage of the susceptible population in southern New England, where the analysis was focused on, left almost 1/3 of the residents in Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts susceptible to infection, which then caused a surge of Delta outbreak. An associate professor of biology at Penn State said that prior to June 2021, about 27% of vaccines given in southern New England were given to people who had already been previously infected with SARS-CoV-2. Research said the recent findings can help shape future vaccination strategies. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Charis Longbowen, for that live report. With more than 200 confirmed or suspected infections of monkeypox worldwide, Abbott Laboratories is developing a test kit to easily detect new cases of the disease. The new test kits will be provided to partners of Abbott's Pandemic Defense Coalition, also called as Virus Hunters, a network of scientific and public health partnership to help identify future pandemic threats. The American multinational medical devices and healthcare company announced their plan when the Centers for Diseases Control and Prevention, or CDC, confirmed 9 monkeypox cases in 7 U.S. states. Abbott is the second company to announce its development of a test kit for monkeypox after Roche, a Swiss multinational healthcare company, developed 3 new test kits to detect the virus and are available to scientists for research use in the majority of countries worldwide. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kat Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council said the government's disaster response, especially during the rainy season, improved compared to the previous years. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The modernization of the transportation used for search and rescue operations, as well as for delivery of relief items, improved the disaster response of the national government. Local government units have also become more proactive in ensuring the safety of the residents.
Ang local government units naman po ay mas maagap na ngayon dahil alam po nila gamitin yung hazard mapping, natag na po yung mga areas na danger zone. So wala pa po minsan yung bagyo, tirik pa yung araw, nakakapagpa-evacuate na yung ating mga LGUs para masiguradong may alis yung ating mga kababayan from the danger areas.
Based on the observation of the agency, residents are less reluctant to evacuate their homes during disasters. The NDRRMC also hopes that the new administration will continue placing separate evacuation sites so schools will no longer be used during natural disasters. Meanwhile, in preparation for the rainy season, the NDRRMC assures the agency as well as the local government units are already prepared.
Pinaalala po ng NDRRMC sa ating mga local government units at mga disaster managers ang tamang kahandaan po para po sa kahit anong emergency na bunsod po nitong panahon na ito.
Aside from evacuation centers, the NDRRMC also began stockpiling supplies for relief items. The search and rescue team are also alerted to make sure they are ready to respond during emergencies.
Tuloy-tuloy naman po ang ating mga pagsasanay at yung pakikipag-ugnayan natin sa isa't isa para po masigurado na lahat po ng mga papel ng ating mga government agencies ay maisagawa ng maayos at maagap pag ganito pong may emergency.
Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, local government units are told to use the hazard map from the NDRRMC to identify danger zones in their areas for disaster preparedness. JP Nunez has the story.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council recalls the landslide tragedy in Abuyog, Leyte, which resulted to more than 100 fatalities. With the previous incident, the NDRRMC prepared a hazard mapping to identify danger zones or hazard-prone areas in the country. This includes flood-prone and landslide-prone areas in the localities. The NDRRMC said the hazard mapping was already endorsed to LGUs, which means they are bound to prepare their residents for disaster, including preemptive evacuation or relocation.
Naalala niyo po yung Rocky, yung dyan sa landslide sa Leyte, no po? May mga areas po dyan na talagang dineclare na hindi pwedeng tirhan. Kapag sinabi pong gano'n ng ating pamahalaan, wag na po nating ipilit. Hindi naman po sa pinagbabawalan lang tayo eh. Pag nagbigay po ang pamahalaan ng pagbabawal na ganyan, ibig sabihin po may plano po na ilipat tayo sa ibang lugar na mas ligtas.
However, the NDRRMC clarified that there are hazard-prone areas that are still safe for dwelling. But the LGUs should strictly monitor those areas so when there is a calamity, they can easily warn the residents and evacuate them immediately.
Meron po mga areas po talaga na hindi na dapat tinitirhan. Pero may mga areas naman po na hindi naman andun palagi yung panganib. So ang ginagawa lang po doon sa mga areas na yon ay yung tamang paghahanda, laging handa dapat yung mga kababayan natin na nakatira doon at nakikipagtulungan sa pamahalaan kapag may nakaambang panganib. Lalo na po yung flooding kasi hindi naman araw-araw po lubog sa bahay.
In Marikina City, barangays which are flood-prone areas are already preparing their evacuation centers. They also have megaphones in residential areas which will serve as an alarm when water rises on the river. The construction of dike along the Marikina River is also ongoing. This is expected to prevent flash floodings in the residential areas near the river.
Ngayon po, yung aming danger zone dito sa mababang lugar dito sa aming barangay, actually sinisimulan na yung paggawa rin ng diki doon.
Meanwhile, some residents who resides in the hazard-prone areas are still not willing to leave their houses for relocation.
Yung iba kasi dito ayaw umalis kasi nakasanayan na kasi dito sa hanap buhay malapit. Tapos di naman araw-araw may baha. Pag may baha lang po talaga, lilikas kami pag first alarm, handa na, second alarm, alis na.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity from Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 12. It says, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Those are the reasons behind the news, May 27, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Harleen Delgado.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people, we give glory to God.